Hey, so this video is a little bit different from what I was intending to make. If you guys are new here or if you missed my Instagram post that I'll link somewhere, Nick and I moved into a loft downtown in early March, and we then had to move out a month and a half later unexpectedly, unfortunately. The big bummer about moving out of the loft was that I had just installed our beautiful plant wall, but fortunately for us, it was really easy to put up and it was really easy to take apart, move, reinstall, as you can see behind me here. So I'm going to walk you through the whole process in this video. And I think it's actually going to be cool because you can see the planters in two completely different spaces. So let's get into it. So when we first moved into this loft, actually before we even moved in, when I first saw pictures of the loft online, the very first thing I thought about was, dang, it would be so sick to have a huge plant wall in this place, especially on the second story because it had a big banister and there was a skylight, and that banister area got pretty good light all day. It was just so beautiful. So when we moved in, that was my first project that I wanted to tackle and share with you guys. When I was thinking about putting a plant wall together, I wanted something that was self-contained because I knew I would need a lot of plants to fill up the big area, and I knew I would get sick of it if I had to take every single plant down to water it, walk it all the way down the stairs, all the way back to the kitchen. So yeah, my main thing was that I wanted it to be self-contained so that I could water it all just from the second story ledge. So a quick disclaimer, this video is not sponsored, but I personally reached out to wallygro because I've been a big fan of them for a long time, and they kindly offered me a discount code to purchase my planters, and I also have a discount code for you guys that is good for the next week. So if you're interested, if you've been wanting to build a plant wall of your own, you can use that code and it's linked below. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that yes, these are plastic containers, and obviously I'm not one to advocate for plastic, but these are recycled. They're actually made out of recycled milk containers, which is awesome. So no new plastic was used in these, and they're made in the US too, which is great. So how do they work? Each planter comes with a bracket, a drywall anchor, and a screw, and there's also a perforated panel that when flipped around becomes the secure watering chamber for the planter. So this design allows me to water my plants while they're still up on the wall, which is amazing, and there's no drips or spills, but I'll elaborate more on that later. So to put these planters together, I just added potting soil to each container, packing it down and filling the containers with soil above the perforated holes. So this plant wall that I was creating for the loft was a mix of plants that I had, like this pothos, and a few new additions like heartleaf philodendron. They're so gorgeous. I've split up and propagated my pothos plants a lot over the years, and this one in particular was looking a little bit sad, so I added a smaller plant to it as well. I wanted each planter to be lush and full from the beginning, and I also wanted there to be a variety of leaf shapes and colors. I chose my larger plants and new ones that were in 6-inch pots so that the containers would be full right away. If I were to have used smaller plants like these little ones that I have, I would have had to buy a lot more to create the feeling that I wanted. It could have been a cool look though, it was just different from what I was going for. I can remove the planters from the wall to water them, but when I was in the loft, I honestly just watered them while they were hanging, and that is just the greatest part about the design of these planters. So to water, I just carefully filled up the back channel all the way to the top, and because of the design, the water is absorbed into the roots and the soil before reaching the front of the pot. There are small perforated holes in the front of the planter, and these help aerate the soil and the roots, keeping root rot at bay because excess water can just evaporate. Since I've been watering my plants in these planters back in March, I haven't had any issues with water coming through the holes, and they haven't shown signs of overwatering either. They really seem to be thriving. The planters attach to the wall with either a drywall anchor or, in our case, just a screw. And since we were working with a metal banister, as you can see here, we needed to add something to secure the screws into. So I thought about making like a plywood wall, like a little false wall or something. but I didn't want to block the light completely, and I thought it would end up looking kind of weird anyway, so we went with these little pieces of wood that were secured together in 3 separate parts. They kind of ended up being like a hairpin design that went over the banister and then were secured by screws, like I said, in the 3 separate parts. So they were very, very secure. So our idea was that after living there for a while, the plants would continue to grow and end up hiding the wood frames, and they totally would have done that. But we ended up having to move out prematurely. So yeah, we had to move, unfortunately. It was such a bummer. But one of the first things we did when we were moving into our new place was to find a wall that we could fit at least some of the planters that we had. Our new place is tiny, but we love it. And we found room for 8 of them in our living room on the wall here. And the room gets pretty great natural light, which is important for any plants, obviously. These planters are such a breeze to install, especially on a normal wall like the one behind me. We just measured out to see how many we could fit and drilled the bracket into the wall and then attached the plants. It's so simple. I water them a lot less in here because this room gets a lot less sun than the loft used to get, but they're still super happy. I'd say that I water them like every 2-ish weeks, but before I water them, I always just stick my finger in the soil to see if it's moist. And again, you can do this with any plant in any container you have. If it's still moist, I'll wait a couple days to water, and if it's dry, then I'll water them in the same way that I explained earlier. And I found that overwatering plants will kill them much faster than underwatering, so I'm really happy with that technique. The cool thing about the design of these planters is that the containers themselves don't stick to the wall, so I can easily just lift them up if I want to take them into the kitchen to water, or, you know, if one plant is getting more light on one side of the wall than one on the other side, I can easily just switch them around every once in a while, and it honestly couldn't be easier. You just lift them up and then put them back on a different bracket. These planters are great for small spaces because they use the vertical space that could otherwise, you know, go unused. And I just can't stress enough how much I love the watering chamber. It takes all the guessing and just like stress out of watering your plants. And I just love how easy it makes it. So that's the evolution of my plant wall from one apartment to another. So I hope you guys liked this video. Thank you so much for watching and for subscribing, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.